If you stop someone on the street today and ask them about Meguro, Tokyo, you are going to get a very specific, like highly curated image.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Like you'll hear all about the gorgeous cherry blossoms lining the Meguro River every spring.
Yeah, the classic tourist spot.
Exactly. Or, they'll bring up the chic cafes in Nakameguro, trendy artisanal boutiques, maybe if they're into the weird stuff, the Parasitological Museum.
Right, right.
For most people, it is just the absolute definition of a modern, stylish, effortlessly cool urban neighborhood.
It is. It's a very comfortable, highly aestheticized version of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, you go there for a matcha latte and a stroll under the trees. It feels entirely modern.
Right. But what if I told you that underneath all those third-wave coffee shops and concrete promenades, there is this secret ancient identity?
No.
There is this hidden historical frequency pulsing right beneath the pavement. Today, we are cracking open a fascinating, incredibly detailed, universal, spiritual, geospatial, historical dossier.
Yeah, it's quite the title.
It is. And our mission for this deep dive is we aren't just looking at the neighborhood as it exists today. We are going to find out how this trendy hangout spot was actually constructed to be the ancient cosmological immune system for the largest metropolis on Earth.
Wow.
Yeah. And it all starts with a pair of giant supernatural black eyes.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we aren't just looking at isolated historical trivia today. What we are really unpacking is a story of survival.
Right.
We are looking at how a medieval Buddhist civilization attempted to encode permanent cosmological protection into the very doot and water of a city.
Like literally building it into the earth.
Exactly. And more importantly, how that invisible protection was repeatedly violently tested over a millennium by catastrophic fire, by political revolution, and by relentless urbanization.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand how you build a supernatural immune system, we have to start at the literal groundwork of this sacred space.
Yeah, the geography.
Right. And that takes us to the very edge of the Musashino Plateau, to the founding of a temple called Risenji, which most people today just know as Meguro Fudō.
The physical geography here is absolutely crucial to everything that follows. I mean, we have to go back to a time before written history, before Buddhism even arrived in Japan.
We're talking ancient.
Very ancient. The Musashino Plateau is this massive geological terrace, and at its edges, natural groundwater springs just bubble up to the surface.
Oh, I see.
And for early humans in the area, these springs were quite literally the difference between life and death. In Japanese animist traditions, these springs weren't just water sources. They were venerated as liminal nodes.
Wait, pause right there. When you say animist traditions and liminal nodes, I'm trying to picture this. We're talking about early societies believing that spirits lived in the landscape itself, right?
Exactly. Animism is the belief that all things rocks, rivers, trees have a spiritual essence. And a spring is a profound geographical anomaly, if you think about it. It is the exact boundary where the hidden, mysterious underground world of water forcefully meets the visible, sunlit surface world.
Oh, that's a cool way to look at it.
It's a doorway, essentially. So long before any formal temple was built, the local people had already marked this as deeply sacred ground.
So the landscape is already charged with this ancient, earthy energy, and then esoteric Tendai Buddhism comes along.
Right.
The dossier specifically mentions the Miki tradition, and this is where they essentially merge with this ancient water veneration. But before we get to the deity they brought, what exactly makes this Buddhism esoteric?
That's a great question.
No, like for those of us who aren't religious scholars, what's the difference?
Well, in broad terms, exoteric Buddhism is public. It relies on scriptures and teachings that anyone can read.
Okay.
Esoteric Buddhism, or Miki in Japan, is secretive. It's based on the idea that ultimate truth can't be fully expressed in words.
Huh. So how do you express it?
It has to be experienced through complex rituals, specific hand gestures called mudras and, mantras. It's highly magical, deeply sensory, and it's passed down directly from a master to a specific student.
Got it. So it's the highly ritualistic, almost mystical wing of the religion.
Very much so.
And these esoteric monks bring in a deity named Fudō Myōō. Now, Fudō Myōō translates to the immovable one.
Yes.
I'm looking at artwork of him in the dossier, and he is intense. Like, he is this wrathful, terrifying figure, completely engulfed in roaring flames, holding a heavy sword to cut through ignorance and a lasso to bind demons.
He is not a gentle figure, no.
But the most important detail for us today isn't the fire or the weapons, it's his face. specifically his eyes.
Yes. In traditional Miki iconography, Fudō has a very specific facial expression.
Okay.
He's depicted with one eye glaring intensely upward toward the enlightened Buddhas and one eye gazing downward in compassion toward suffering, chaotic humanity.
Oh, wow. So looking in two directions at once.
Exactly. And those eyes are traditionally painted a deep, striking blue-black.
Which brings us to the ultimate aha moment of this dossier. Because when you look at the name of the neighborhood today, Meguro, it literally translates to black eye. So the geography itself, the very name of the district that people ride the subway to every day, is actually the deity's face watching over the plateau.
Exactly. The landscape literally becomes the gaze of the divine. And the absolute center of that gaze is that ancient sacred spring we talked about, which the temple formalized and named the Dokonotaki, or the Vajra waterfall.
A Vajra is a ritual weapon, right? Like a thunderbolt.
That's right. In esoteric Buddhism, a Vajra is a symbol of indestructible, enlightened mind. It cuts through everything but cannot be cut itself.
Okay, powerful imagery.
Very. By giving the waterfall that specific name, the monks weren't just saying, hey, this water is holy, come wash your hands.
Right.
They were making a massive theological claim. They were stating that the water itself is indestructible spiritual power made fluid.
Now, I do have to push back on one thing in the dossier, because there is a bit of a historical mystery, or maybe just a blatant lie in the temple's own history.
Oh, about the founding date.
Yes. Popular temple literature claims Meguro Fudō was founded in the year 808 CE by this legendary famous monk named Jikaku Daishi Enin.
Right.
But I did the math on this while reading the notes. In 808 CE, Enin would have been, 14 years old? He was a kid.
I was very young, yes.
He definitely wasn't out founding major esoteric temple complexes on the frontier. It feels a bit like a medieval prestige PR campaign. You claim a famous founder to boost your site's sacred resume.
You've caught them in a classic historical fabrication. It's a very common practice in Japanese sacred history.
Yeah, figured.
Temples wanted the pedigree of a famous founder to attract pilgrims and patrons. But honestly, regardless of the exact year it was founded by the Kamakura period a few centuries later, it was undeniably a massive, functioning sacred center.
Yeah, the exact year almost doesn't matter eventually.
Right. And for anyone visiting Tokyo today, this history isn't just a fun trivia fact. You can physically experience this sensory archaeology at the Vajra waterfall right now.
Yes. The dossier has these amazing notes for visitors. If you go, you really have to pay attention to how your body feels. It's not just about looking at a pretty waterfall. As you walk down the stone stairs into the grotto where the spring is, you'll notice the stone steps have these distinct, shallow depressions worn deeply into them.
You can literally read the history with your feet.
Yeah.
Those depressions are from literally hundreds and hundreds of years of pilgrims walking down in traditional fabric tabi socks.
Fabric socks wearing down stone.
Millions of human footsteps wearing away solid stone. It's incredible.
And as you approach the grotto, the temperature noticeably drops. You enter this cool, damp microclimate. But my absolute favorite part is the sound.
The acoustic mask.
Exactly. The sustained, low-register splashing of the waterfall actually functions as an acoustic mask. It completely drowns out the noise of modern Tokyo traffic, the sirens, the hum of the city.
It creates an island of sonic silence right in the middle of a metropolis.
It's so cool.
It forces you into a different state of mind. But, as powerful as this local site was, it eventually became swept up into something much larger.
Right.
The black eye anchored on the plateau didn't work alone. It became the foundational node of an entire citywide supernatural defense grid.
Okay, so we're moving from a single waterfall to a sprawling metropolis. Because in the 17th century, the Tokugawa shogunate takes over Japan.
Yes.
And they decide to build their new capital, Edo, which we now know as Tokyo. But Edo wasn't some pristine, ready-to-build paradise, was it?
Far from it. They were essentially transforming a massive, muddy tidal flat into a capital city.
Yikes.
It was a staggering feat of engineering, but it required enormous political and spiritual justification.
Right, you can't just pave a swamp and call it a holy capital.
Yeah, exactly. To legitimize this massive, unnatural project, the third shogun, Iemitsu, is credited with establishing what became known as the Edo Nobushiki Fudō.
The Five-Colored Fudō system.
Correct. This was a network of 5 specific Fudō temples geographically positioned around the city. And each one was assigned one of the 5 primary colors of esoteric Buddhist cosmology.
Which are?
White, red, blue-green, yellow, and of course black.
Meguro being the black one. Now, my immediate thought reading this was that they just color-coded them so pilgrims wouldn't get lost.
Right, like subway lines.
Exactly, like a medieval subway map. But the dossier makes it clear this wasn't just practical. Why do these colors actually matter? How does a color ward off evil?
What's fascinating here is how Mickey cosmology views the fundamental nature of reality.
Mm-hmm.
In esoteric Buddhism, colors aren't just aesthetic choices or paint.
Okay.
They are active, transformative functions of the universe. They are technologies.
Technologies? How so?
For instance, yellow is believed to actively transform human pride into spiritual equality.
Oh.
Red transforms selfish desire into discerning wisdom. They do work on the human psyche.
So they are active spiritual filters placed around the city.
Exactly. But Black Meguro's color is entirely unique in this system.
How is it different?
Black isn't just another filter. In this cosmology, black represents the pre-manifestation state. It is the deepest root, the absolute ground of all potential, before the other colors even separate and exist.
Okay, that is deep.
So Meguro wasn't just a node on the map. Because it was the black eye, it was the cosmological anchor for the entire city's existence.
It's like they built a citywide supernatural firewall, and Meguro was the mainframe.
That is a perfect analogy.
And to keep that firewall powered up, each of these 5 temples conducted regular Goma rituals.
Yes, the fire rituals.
For the listener, a Goma ritual involves monks burning these massive sacred fire offerings to physically burn away negative karma and spiritual afflictions.
Quite a sight.
So if you look at a map of early Edo, you've got this invisible protective mandala being held open by 5 perpetual ritual fires burning around the perimeter of the capital.
It was a very powerful, very literal theological statement. And actually, for tourists today, you can enact a kind of walking mandala yourself.
Oh, really? How?
You start at Meguro Fudō, the black node of concentrated potential at dawn, and then you travel to Meiwa Fudō, which is the white node representing clarity and mirror-like wisdom, at midday.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It lets you experience a physical and sensory cosmological contrast across the city.
I love that. But wait, let's look at the practical reality of this for a second. Edo was a newly built, densely packed city made almost entirely out of wood and paper.
Yes.
Isn't ringing a highly flammable wooden city with 5 perpetual ritual fires incredibly dangerous? I mean, it feels like tempting fate.
It was a profound risk,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, fate answered in the worst way imaginable.
Oh, no.
The irony of this is darker than you can possibly invent. The sacred fire meant to protect the city actually turned out to be prophetic.
In 1772, this massive conflagration broke out. It's known as the Meiwa Fire.
Yes.
And it started at a temple called Daenji. Now, Daenji is located on Ginninzaka, which translates to Monk Pilgrim Slope. This was the main, busy approach route for pilgrims heading to Meguro Fudō. We're talking less than a kilometer away from the Black Eye itself.
A fire started right on that pilgrim slope, and it burned for days. It became one of the top 3 most catastrophic blazes in Tokyo's entire history, destroying massive swaths of the city and causing unimaginable loss of life.
This is the tragic paradox that just blew my mind. You have Meguro Fudō, the immovable one, a deity literally depicted surrounded by sacred flames meant to purify the world and protect the capital.
Right.
And yet he presides over the precise neighborhood that birthed a secular, uncontained, absolutely profane inferno. The very container of the sacred fire spawned city-killing destruction. How did it get so out of control so fast?
Because it was a topological catastrophe. The physical geography itself weaponized the fire. Well, Ginninzaka is an incredibly steep slope that descends from the high plateau down into the river valley. When you have a fire start on a steep incline in a densely packed wooden neighborhood, you get intense convection.
Oh, like a chimney effect.
Exactly. The gradient acts like a natural chimney, creating massive updrafts. The fire rushed down the slope, gathering incredible speed and radiant heat before exploding into the densely populated commercial districts of Edo.
And what's wild is that you can still feel that physical danger today. The dossier suggests that if you visit Meguro, you should deliberately walk down Gishinzaka.
I highly recommend it.
It's not just a historical footnote. Your legs will physically ache from the steep gradient. You can feel the exact topographical reason the fire accelerated with such violence.
And when you reach ENG, the exact temple where the fire started, you'll encounter a profoundly moving piece of memory geography.
Right, the statue.
Yes. There is a stone statue there of Daikokuten that actually survived the blaze. Today, it has been worn incredibly smooth, almost featureless, by centuries of human touch. And beside it, It's a massive stone memorial.
Now, in the West, a memorial is usually just a plaque to remember an event. But this isn't just a plaque, is it?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
In the Japanese religious imagination of the time, the thousands of people who died suddenly and violently in that fire became Henri.
Vengeful, restless spirit.
Exactly. Spirits who die in terror and agony are believed to linger and cause further disasters, plagues, storms, more fires, unless they are actively pacified.
So they have to be contained.
Yes. That massive grave memorial at Daenji has been actively maintained by the local community for over 2.5 centuries.
Wow.
They chant sutras, offer incense, and clean the stone. It is quite literally a technology of spiritual containment. They are still to this day managing the concentrated grief and spiritual disturbance imprinted on that slope.
It's chilling to think about. You have this landscape that birthed a catastrophic fire. Normally, in a bustling city like Tokyo, an area that burns down is quickly cleared out, paved over, and intensely developed into commercial real estate.
True.
Yet, the semi-wild sacred nature of the Meguro landscape, the woods, the springs, the approach slopes, survived for centuries afterward. How did it not just become another concrete block?
It survived because of a completely different overlapping system of power coming from above. Literally from the sky.
The hawks.
Yes. During the Edo period, the Tokugawa shogunate maintained extensive gokakashu, or falconry grounds, covering the entire Meguro area.
Okay, so the shogun liked to hunt with birds. But how does that protect a sacred shrine complex on the ground?
Because falconry for the shogun wasn't just weekend recreation. It was a highly formalized, politically charged ritual of territorial sovereignty.
Okay, so it's a power move.
A huge power move. When the shogun's hawk flew over the land, it was a physical, visible demonstration of his absolute dominion over the earth below. To maintain an environment suitable for this ritual, which requires ground-nesting birds, open spaces, and semi-wild terrain, the shogunate passed laws strictly suppressing intense agricultural development and large-scale construction by the local peasants.
It's like medieval zoning laws enforced by birds of prey.
Basically, yes.
Because the shogun wanted a clear line of sight to hunt, the local farmers were legally prevented from tearing down the woods or overdeveloping the land.
Precisely. And this creates a fascinating spatial theology if you step back and look at it.
How so?
You have the shogun's dynamic, mobile claim to the land sweeping through the air, the hawk. And simultaneously anchoring it below, you have the static, immovable claim of Fudō on the ground.
Oh, that's such a cool image.
The oppressor of the local farmers, by restricting their livelihoods and their ability to build, accidentally preserved the very pristine natural landscape that made the sacred pilgrimage to the waterfall and the temple so powerful. The moving hawk validated the immovable deity.
That is such a wild collision of interests. The supreme secular power accidentally acting as the supreme conservationist for the sacred power.
Exactly.
And the dossier notes, you can actually experience this spatial dynamic today as a tourist, right?
You can. When you walk from the high plateau of the temple down to the famous Meguro River Valley Promenade, where everyone goes to take selfies with the cherry blossoms.
Yeah, the classic spot.
Right, you are unknowingly walking the geometric flight path of the shogun's hawk. You are physically experiencing the exact vertical drop that allowed the sovereign's aerial vision to command the landscape.
So the shogun preserved the physical landscape, but history doesn't stop. A century later, a completely new political regime comes to power, and they decide they don't just want to change the laws.
No, they want to erase things entirely.
They want to completely erase the spiritual landscape.
The year is 1868. The Tokugawa shogunate falls, and the Meiji Restoration restores the emperor to supreme power.
Okay, big shift.
It's massive. The new modernizing state immediately implements a radical policy called Shinbutsu Bunri, the forced legal separation of Shinto and Buddhism.
Which is a massive shock to the system because for over 1,000 years, Japanese religion had been a profound syncretic fusion. Native kami, the Shinto gods, and Buddhist deities were worshipped together in the exact same buildings.
Exactly. They were inseparable in practice.
But suddenly, the new Meiji state needed a pure state Shinto to support the idea that the emperor was a living god. They couldn't have foreign Buddhist ideas cluttering up the theology.
And this ideological shift quickly devolved into the Haibutsu Kishaku movement, which translates to the abandonment of Buddhism and the destruction of its teachings.
It sounds awful.
It was an incredibly violent, chaotic period. Thousands of Buddhist temples were forcibly closed or burned, ancient statues were smashed, and heavily syncretic sites were torn apart by mobs and government officials.
And Meguro Fuji was a huge syncretic site.
Yes. Meguro Fuji was a massive, highly visible syncretic site right on the edge of the capital. It was a prime target.
So they were right in the crosshairs.
This raises an important question. How did a highly exposed institution like Meguro Fudo survive when so many others across the country were utterly annihilated?
How did they?
The answer lies in the people. It wasn't saved by powerful monks or sympathetic politicians. It was saved by the local lay community, specifically the Ujiko and the Ko associations.
What exactly were those groups, like a neighborhood watch for temples?
Essentially, yes. The Ujiko are the local parishioners tied to the local Shinto shrine, and the Ko were lay Buddhist associations that pooled their money to support the temple and go on pilgrimages.
So just regular people.
Exactly. Regular working-class people, merchants, farmers, craftsmen, they engaged in quiet, persistent, bureaucratic resistance.
Wow, I love that.
They hid artifacts, they delayed government orders, and they refused to participate in the destruction. They were so deeply embedded in the economic and social fabric of the city that the new Meiji state realized they simply couldn't eradicate the site without causing mass civic unrest in the capital.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the cosmological poetry of this outcome is just staggering. You have the full, overwhelming weight of the newly modernized Meiji state, with its armies and its bureaucrats throwing its entire ideological machinery at Fudō Myōō, the immovable one. And true to his name, he did not move. He stood his ground. He survived the storm.
It is the ultimate historical proof of concept for the site's theology. The immovable one proved immovable.
That's amazing.
But, as with all history, survival came at a cost. And that cost created the most profound hidden gem for a visitor today. It's not something you can take a picture of. It's about what you cannot experience.
The sonic absence.
Exactly. When you stand in the precincts of Meguro Fudes today, you are surrounded by layers of syncretic history in the graveyard and the architecture. But the sonic landscape has been permanently altered.
How so?
Well, for 1,000 years, the air at that temple vibrated with a complex, overlapping mixture of Buddhist chants called Dokyu and Shinto liturgy called Marido.
Oh, they used to happen together.
They harmonized together. But today, if you listen, you will only hear the Buddhist chant. The Shinto voice has been surgically removed by the laws of 1868.
Wow.
It is an absence with a distinct texture. When you stand there in the quiet, you are literally hearing the scar of a political revolution.
That is deep. So what does this all mean? When we take all 5 of these interconnected elements, the black eye watching from the springs of the plateau, the citywide mandala of fire anchoring the capital, the catastrophic blaze roaring down the pilgrim's slope, the shogun's hawk accidentally preserving the ancient woods, and the immovable one resisting the ideological fury of the state, what is the real takeaway for us today?
I think the synthesis is that Meguro is not just a trendy neighborhood for weekend date.
Right.
It is Tokyo's cosmological immune system. It was installed as the capital's magical threshold guardian, and then it was relentlessly, brutally tested by reality.
Over and over again.
Tested by the secular fire of Meiwa, tested by the ideological storms of the Meiji period, and it continues to be tested by the endless, concrete urbanization of modern Tokyo. Yet, through it all, because of geography, political irony, and the stubborn faith of ordinary people, the black eye remains open on the edge of the Musashino Plateau.
That is just incredible. And that makes me want to ask you, the listener, to think about your own hometown.
Absolutely.
Think about the streets you walk down every day. What unseen historical frequencies are vibrating right beneath your feet? What ancient immune systems, forgotten boundaries, or vanished rituals are hiding beneath your local coffee shop or the park where you walk your dog?
We have this modern habit of thinking that our cities were built purely by urban planners, civil engineers, and politicians drawing lines on a map.
Right, zoning laws and sewer grids.
Exactly. But if you strip away the concrete, if you peel back the pavement, how much of the grid you walk on every single day was actually drawn by ancient theologians desperately trying to ward off the dark?
And as an extra thought for you all to mull over, consider how those ancient boundaries might still be dictating where development can and cannot happen in your city right now. Unseen historical trauma or sacred spaces often quietly force modern roads to curve.
Very true.
That is a thought that is going to stick with me for a long time. Next time I see a picture of those beautiful cherry blossoms on the Meguro River, I am going to be looking for the black eye watching from the hill. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep looking beneath the surface, and we'll catch you next time.